hospital, the center of the city, and I deal with only diabetic patients for last 25 years. I also have some interest in research. I have basic training in basic sciences and laboratory work also. So my main research is into biomarkers in diabetes and leading to diabetes. We are trying to develop salivary biomarkers for diabetes and complications. We also have some data on bitter gourd and fenugreek, but I must confess, bitter gourd is a very common product and almost every diabetic uses it in India. But for some reason, we in government sector have not shown much interest in bitter gourd because fenugreek is the one which is very popular with research. I'm not talking about patients usage, but in research. Bitter gourd is also as popular as fenugreek in India among diabetic patients. But we have done a lot of work on fenugreek, especially from Hyderabad. National Institute of Nutrition has developed so much of research methodology in fenugreek research for more than 40 years now. And we have some clinical work added to their work. And I am going to present to you very briefly about several publications done in India. India has a lot of research institutes working on plant medicines. And to tell something about the government permissions regarding clinical studies using indigenous products. When I had the previous lecture, I thought I should mention about India. Indian government is always very open to plant medicines. Plant medicines do not go through all the regulations of pharma. It doesn't have, we don't have to apply for Drug Controller General of India DCGA permissions. And there are a lot of lenience in ethical committees, in Indian ethical committees to use plant medicine. They are encouraging, but most of us are not so active. But still government encourages a lot of research on plant medicine for last 50 years, I should say. And there are many institutes in India like CDRI in Lucknow, CFTRI in Mysore, NIN in Hyderabad doing excellent work. I am trying to show some of the work in which I am also involved, and most of this work is published in our Indian journals, and they are available online now. They are not indexed, but they are available online. And a lot of work has been done in last 30 years on several indigenous medicines in normal animal models and animal models with diabetes, and also in human trials. We have several projects in India and being undertaken now in humans. So in preclinical diabetes, in diabetic patients on treatment, so we don't stop the treatment, we add this plant medicines and look for glycated hemoglobin reduction after 3 months or 6 months. In one of the study I'm going to briefly mention, it was a 3-year follow-up of fenugreek in prevention of diabetes among preclinical diabetes. So all these studies have very good backing from government. Government encourages us to do a lot of work, yet we are not so good in taking up these offers. But I'll show. I have different slides. I don't have any specific format for my slides, but I want to show you as much work as we have done. And most of these studies are done in India, and you can see they are isolated different. And from bitter gourd, we call it P insulin. Several products isolated from bitter gourd are called P insulin, plant insulins. And if you look at these things, most of these chemical principles from different indigenous products have something to do with the glyco. These are not researches done in diabetic patients. They are research done from in different conditions. But you see, and I will show you what we are also doing about lectin assays. So several plant products, several plants have different lectins, and in 1920s they have described lectin assay for measurement of glycosylation. So you are talking about glycated hemoglobin. So there are several glycosylated proteins in human body which are responsible for several pathologies in diabetes. So measurement of glycosylation is what we have taken up, and we have tried all of these. Are all described in 1920s, but we have used several lectins and tried to look for biomarkers for diabetes, biomarkers for nephropathy. This is the principle for lectin assay described in 1920s. There's nothing new. We have not invented it, but we have used this assay, this technique for measuring glycosylation. So this is another, I'm just trying to tell you that there are other ways of looking at plant products also. It's not just nutrition or nutritional supplements, but maybe plant products are also used for measuring glycosylation, as well as some way you can deglycosylate the proteins in human body, and actually you can reverse some of the pathologies. So far we don't have any mechanism to reverse the pathology. We can slow down the pathology, but it is possible to reverse the pathology also by looking at different plant products. This is open for your own analysis for further. So there are all different lectins we are used for as a surrogate marker for microalbumin, as a surrogate marker for diabetic nephropathy, and it is a very and in future you will see a lot of biomarkers for glycosylation. And and this is the most popular product in all systems of medicine, not only in Ayurveda, but also in Unani and all other medicines, Siddha, homeopathy. Even homeopathy they use Shizium. So this is the most popular plant product that is used in diabetes. And fenugreek, of course, I told you, for some reason we have done so much of work on fenugreek in Hyderabad, in Delhi, in several parts of India. I will show you very few, some of my slides also. So this is one study where, like in the previous presentation, we have compared fenugreek with metformin. Metformin is almost like a gold standard. No, it's one of the best anti-diabetic. So we have compared about 30 patients on metformin and 30 NIDDM on phenudate alone. They are not given metformin, they are only on phenudate. So these people are not badly controlled diabetes, they are diabetics. So we have ethical committee clearances for withdrawing our medicines for 3 months, because fenugreek has already been shown to be equally potent in bringing down blood sugar as with metformin in several animal studies and several controlled diabetes studies. So this is about 3 month study, and we have shown that there is absolutely no difference between this debitterized, defatted, deodorized fiber from fenugreek is made in National Institute of Nutrition, Hyderabad. So we have borrowed their product, and then this is about 10 years back we have done this study, and subsequently several smaller studies are also done. It is also surprising to see that without any change in obesity, that is body weight, without change in lipids, without change in other parameters, you could actually show increase in insulin responses with fenugreek as much or better than with metformin. So that's what we have shown. Insulin sensitivity and beta cell function has improved with fenugreek better than with metformin in 3 months. Then VJSR is another product, maybe you are aware of that. In India, a lot of work was done on VJSR. In 4 centers in ICM was almost like 3-year studies were done, and they have shown that this is actually the official product recognized by ICMR and Government of India to be as much effective as sulfonylureas in bringing down blood sugar. Then of course we have these cluster beans, and then bitter gourd. Bitter gourd is known to us. A lot of work has been done, but it's not as much as with fenugreek. So one of the earliest presentations, 1983, when I just finished my general medicine, this was an All India Institute. So Rekha Sharma is our chief dietitian. So this was a very small study, but those days we were thinking that anything that was bitter, whether it is bitter gourd or neem, was useful in diabetics. So we tried with, and there were papers. By that time there was a publication in Lancet about this one. So we have done it in All India Institute in those days, and we have shown that there is an excellent reduction in blood glucose. It is glycated hemoglobin was not available. It was just entering into Indian scene in those days, 1983. So we have used fasting blood sugar and post-prandial blood sugar, post-glucose blood glucose, and looking at the reductions is almost like 15 to 25% reduction in fasting as well as 2-hour post-glucose. And then in Delhi, in another institute with which we were also collaborated, there's one Dr. P.S. Murthy. Kakra is the Telugu name for bitter gourd. And this man is a Telugu man, is a biochemistry professor in Delhi. So he called some of the principles identified from bitter gourd as Kakara 1, Kakara 2, Kakara 3. And he has also done a good study. This is an animal study. The previous study was in humans. This is an animal study. And he has shown that there was some improvement. So I think this is what we have done in bitter gourd, but we have a lot of work on other products. And 1989, there was a very good review on all the researches done in plant products by Dr. Satyavati. Satyavati has ultimately became Director General of ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, and she has almost 30 years experience with plant medicines and diabetes and cancer. So banyan is another plant and products of which are used, and samani. So these are all other plant products which are very popular in India, and there are a lot of researches being done on this for diabetes. I am talking about only diabetes. This is Shilajit. It's also misused in many of the Indian preparations. Shilajit is one thing which is very popular. And Adathoda vasica, vaccine is the product for as a mucolytic. So vaccine is a commercial product from Adathoda vasica. It also has got some effect on reducing blood sugars in diabetes. Turmeric, of course, we have patents also on turmeric for as an anti-inflammatory, antibiotic, anti-cancer. So neem is another one. Banana, gooseberry. I want to show you some negative things also. No? This table shows that there is no effect on reducing blood glucose in first week, second week, or third week with fenugreek, garlic, and onion. So it's also possible that you see some reports which are not very conducive. And indigenous medicines are very popular in India. Almost 80% of the diabetics depend on indigenous medicines in India, in spite of our effort to wean them off from indigenous medicine. But they also take our medicines, but they are also taking indigenous medicines. So hugely popular. You can see every street corner in India boards like this trying to. And Kojan DB is a great success story. Somebody from South India has mixed up all these things without any rhyme or reason. He just made a mixture of this, and he made $1 billion with Kojan DB. So none of us have any research on that, but that man was so popular. And that kind of things happen in India. So he just mixed up all these things. So then we do a lot of work on yoga also. I just want to show you. There are some postures and also some breathing exercises like this. We try to use yoga for treatment of type 2 diabetes and also in prevention of diabetes. Last year we have one PhD student has completed 3-year follow-up of yoga and prevention of diabetes among. So this is without using, without plant medicines, without other interventions. There are also other systems in which I am not involved, but these are also, acupuncture is as popular in India as in China. A lot of people doing acupuncture and aromatherapies. And these are all the different. So I want to show you this fenugreek PhD thesis submitted last year by this lady. And what we have done, we have taken about 100 preclinical diabetes. You are mentioning about preclinical diabetes. In general population, it's almost like in Hyderabad, we have about 30% of population above 25 years have either impaired glucose tolerance or impaired fasting glucose. So we have about 30% of our adult population as preclinical diabetes. So we have a huge population who are not being treated. There are no medicines being given to them. So we try all sorts of things, low-fat diets, yoga, fenugreek, acarbose is also tried. But in Indian government encourages us to use a lot of these pranayama or yoga, fenugreek. So this is a huge study for 3 years we have done yoga, and for that matter, any study exceeding 6 months using physical activity interventions or diet or stress management or indigenous products is extremely difficult unless you have several members of your PhD, several members of your research staff exclusively working on that project and visiting all these subjects at home. It is extremely difficult to conduct any of these kind of studies, non-pharmacological interventions for more than 6 months. But we have developed our own team over a period of 10 years, and we have experience with long-term studies. So this is a long-term 3-year follow-up, and then we have shown that there is some improvement with the fenugreek in prevention of diabetes. So this is almost like this. You can see the annual incidence of preclinical diabetes converting into diabetes is much less on those people who are given fenugreek. So probably this kind of studies also can be done with the bitter gourd, I am sure, because I am not aware of bitter gourd activity going on in India, and I'm ashamed that being in Hyderabad I am not aware of all these things. But once this meeting is over, I am going to come and talk to the people locally, and I am going to use the same methodology with the bitter gourd, with whatever product they have. And it's easier for us to conduct this kind of studies in humans, normal humans, or diabetics, uncontrolled diabetic also. It's not a big issue for us. Ethical committees encourage us to use, because there's so much of belief and trust among diabetic patients as well as in our scientists that these medicines are as much useful as those pharma drugs. So I'm going to, just when I heard about this few weeks back, and after seeing this, I want to do this study maybe for 1 year or 2 years or 3 years with the bitter gourd. So the methodology, we are all experienced with all sorts of methodology. Probably we should also have some. And it is nice to show that kind of graph. In 3 years we have shown there is a 50% reduction in risk for diabetes, in risk for developing diabetes. So this kind, and this is in 100 subjects. 100 preclinical diabetes and 100 controls. 100 controls who are not given fenugreek. They are all preclinical diabetes. We have a huge population with preclinical diabetes, and we want to do some, and I will definitely be able to do it in Hyderabad. That's my last slide, and I'm open to, I'm very happy to see so many faculties here, and I'm open to any questions. I have about 8 minutes time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Now we can have around 7 minutes for questions or suggestions. Yes, please.
It is my impression that you have a lot of data, but the data are a little bit chaotic. Are you willing to put the data into the cloud so that everybody has access to the data, transparent, and then everybody can analyze the data and coming up with some results? This would be an open access analysis of the data.
Yes, sir.
And then your data management might be much more better.
You are right, sir. We are all very bad with our data.
No, I accept it.
You are right. I think
You should store the data.
it's almost like 30 years we have done so many work, but they are not published. They are not in index medicals. And we have this IJDDC, I was showing you one journal which we are running ourselves, myself and my colleagues. Now it's a popular journal. It's not yet indexed, but most of the Indian data, whether it is Better Gourd or any of these Indian products, what you see, they are all published in our Indian journals. They are not indexed. But I have put all the articles published on IJDDC, that is International Journal for Diabetes in Developing Countries. started publication in 1981. So I have made scan copies of all those old papers and then I have put it online. But it's a, as you said, it's not a raw data. It's basically the analysis, whatever tables we have done. And we will definitely be able to, we are not commercial business or government organizations, so there is no problem in putting it online.
Really, my recommendation is to publish in papers with impact factor, so with scholarship, because what is an impact factor? But if you like to store the data in the cloud, so everybody can access to the data and look at that and compare, then you get a response.
I will definitely look into that and I will do that.
Dr. Rao, it's a good presentation, as you mentioned. What is precluding the sponsors who funded this kind of research not to publish, and are there any expectations from the sponsors who funded this kind of research? And is there anything like an intellectual property they want to keep it away, or there's no, if this was published in international journals, that would be a good asset for the continuation of the human studies?
Actually, I'm not, I'm a government employee, full-time government employee. And all the researches I have shown are basically funded by government institutions. So there is no restriction. Government encourages us to do research, government encourages us to do publish. But it is around, I don't think there is any restriction or intellectual. We are not trying to sell, even ICMR has started its intellectual property rights section only recently. And they are not restricting us to publish anything. Basically, we are not good in preparing the manuscripts and sending. Once we send to the publisher, they send it back for review, then it's end of it. We don't send it back. So that's all. The last 25, 30 years, whatever I have done personally, have never been published.
No, I agree with you because your major profession is a physician, I'm assuming. So you are doing this as a kind of a hobby plus research. But it is really important that the government of India is spending a lot of money on this. I would have been sitting here talking about already educating the general public. Okay, this is the clinical data which shows clearly. But with 30 years of experience, and also the plus point is you did already some other products with the fenugreek and other products, and the synergistic effect will be useful for the. Sometimes it maybe the drug is not helping, but two together or three together may be better than drug.
We have that kind of hope. With that kind of hope, I came here, and I will definitely be associated. I have not been in touch with these people. We live in another world, though it's in Hyderabad. Just when you party is from here, our world is not as clean and as good as this.
Any other questions from the audience? Maybe I can ask a very short one. Because you also show a combination of 9 plant extract on patient with impaired glucose tolerance test. So, do you think Bilderberg is on the top, or Bilderberg is just among, just about average? What should be 9? Will 9 be too many?
Sorry, I didn't get the question right, but are you asking me how many people in India are...
No, what I'm asking that you show a combination of 9 plants extracted for treating like IgT, and you also show some data about Bilderberg. And I'm just asking specifically, do you have any suggestion why 9 extracts are all required to control IgT? And do you think Bilderberg is somehow an additional advantage, or is on the top of the list of your friends that we are trying to see whether they good for diabetes?
I don't have any preference for bitter gourd, but it's a common food. Almost everybody eats bitter gourd in India. And now that you have so much of it, I have never heard that there is an organization working on bitter gourd. I didn't guess, not even in my dream. I was surprised when I saw this whole vegetables the conference. So if so many people and I am so much, it's sort of an honor for me for seeing so many of you in Hyderabad. And Hyderabad is the center for diabetes in the country. So we have more diabetics in the country, we have more diabetes doctors, we have more diabetes research going on. MIN is the world's oldest nutrition laboratory. So I think though I am nearing my retirement, it's not in the top list of the preferred nutritional supplement for diabetic, but it's a common food, and so many people are interested, and it's a very simple thing for us. We don't have to spend too much money. We are doing blood sugar, we are doing glycated hemoglobin, we are doing insulin, we are doing C-peptide. We are also doing so many biomarkers nowadays. The money is there, and when we have so many patients, I'm talking about patients, not about like what my previous speaker said, we are not going to treat rats and rabbits, we are treating humans, and I have access to humans, and government is encouraging, my institute is open, all of us are happy. Of course, we are all troubled with our own 100 patients a day work, but unless we do something like this, we can't have satisfaction. So I'm going to do Peter Gourd for that reason. Not that it is the preferred product or it is the best product or it is the best. I don't think. But we have so much of experience with fenugreek. That's almost 30 years. Everybody of us in Hyderabad.
Okay, thank you. I think I have to close this part and then introduce the last speaker, Mr. Xiong Zhao.